what we're going to do is talk about the top 3 warehouse resolutions, and probably why you will fail to keep them. So with that, as was mentioned in the introduction, Justin and I both spent a little time in the military, and we got good at taking orders. So when they told us, you know, any good presentation, you need to start off with an icebreaker, we said we completely agree. So with that, let's start off with an icebreaker, get things rolling. Now you can see in this video, he's really given it a good attempt. He's completely committed to breaking the ice with you guys as we are. It was a good effort, not quite success, but hopefully that grabs your attention, brings a little smile to your face, because we are going to have a little fun as we walk through this today. But now we got the icebreaker completed. Let's get into your resolutions. So have you already failed? Studies show that only about 8% of the people who make New Year's resolutions actually keep them. That's not too good odds for us. Statistics also show us that by the end of February, 36% of you have already given up on your resolutions. Again, not a great start to the year. But there are some things we think we can do to help. We're going to give you some of those clues, and then we're going to give you some indications as to where you might go to make sure you're successful. So, perfect 10. You are 10 times more likely to keep your New Year's resolutions and goals if you're explicit about them. In other words, I don't want to lose weight, but I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to lose 5 pounds by this date, 5 pounds by this date, 5 pounds by this date, and I'm going to do these 5 steps in order to achieve them. So if you're going to make goals and New Year's resolutions, you need to make sure that they're very explicit in what you're going to do. Also, if you write down your goals, you are 42% more likely to keep them. So we want to make sure whatever goals you have, you're explicit about them, you write them down, you have the ultimate answer to the every question, life, universe, and everything else, but 42% more likely to succeed if you write down your goals. If you write down your goals, the next biggest indication as to whether you will be successful or not is if you choose to take immediate action. So with that, we're going to help you take some immediate action. And in order to do that, we're going to give you a little motivation. So we're going to give $200 to somebody who's on this call today. All you have to do is 3 small steps, 4 steps. Take out a piece of paper, write down the top 2 or 3 things you're going to do in your facility this year. What's the immediate action you're going to take to accomplish these? And then what's the result of this action? And once you have that, send it to us, text us, Facebook us, Snapchat us, LinkedIn, however you want to get in touch with us. We will have an email address at the end. But get in touch with us, let us know what your immediate steps were, and we'll help set you on your way to accomplishing your New Year's resolution. Now, this isn't too difficult. I'm actually going to give you all the answers as we walk through this. So all you need to do is pay a little bit of attention, write them down, send it in to us, and we'll enter your name in a drawing for the $200. So what are some of your goals? Well, these should be your goals if they're not. Increase your profitability, higher ROI, more efficient operations, lower operating costs. These are always goals that need to be accomplished in any good facility. Reduce or lower your maintenance. We want to do things that are value add, not things that just take up time. And so one of the great ways to reduce your downtime is reduce your maintenance. Make sure you're more efficient in what you are doing. And then improve quality. And this doesn't matter if it's quality of your product, your service, your people, safety of your people. All these things are important in order to have a quality product and a quality facility. So why are these your goals? Because you need these to prosper and be successful, and I'm telling you, your competition's doing it right now. Profitability, there's 13 billion square foot of warehouses available. That's a lot of competition, and there's a lot more coming on. We follow many segments of the market in the construction industry, and warehousing is the fastest growing segment of the market this year. So there's more competition coming. Maintenance and downtime. All this does is reduce your profitability. Failure to maintain the warehouse or the facility properly causes safety and quality issues. There's over 100,000 forklift accidents per year. Each of these results in about $35,000 of costs. There's just nothing good that happens when you fail to properly maintain and keep your facility. And then quality, both in terms of product and in people. Product returns are one of the biggest costs for warehouse and distribution systems, and with employment at a 8-year low, there's a lot of opportunity for your employees to go other places. So we need to make sure they're happy and taken care of. So what are some of the roadblocks? Justin, I've set up some of the things that we need to accomplish over the next year to be more profitable, lower maintenance, higher quality of both our people and our process. What would be some of the roadblocks that might keep somebody from, being successful with this?
Thanks, Mick. So we're going to look at some of those, and we're going to see how traditional lighting contributes to them. So the first one would be energy bills. We're going to look at those being a large cost, and some higher prices are in the future. Lamp and ballast maintenance, you've got downtime, paying people to do it, and component costs increasing. And then insufficient lighting, is that contributing to picking and production issues, safety issues, employee issues? So we'll kind of look at each one of these. So when we look at energy, studies show that it is one of the largest costs in a warehouse. 60% of total electricity is used for lighting. If you have traditional fluorescent or HID technology today, that number makes sense, as these technologies can use up to 458 watts per fixture. Switching to LED gives you immediate savings, as these numbers on the right briefly show, but we'll look at those in more depth to come. So ever-increasing bills. Do you know that future prices are going to rise? Current estimates show about a 10% increase over the next few years in electricity. This means you will need to find ways of cutting costs by as much as 10% just to break even, which is one of those things that, again, hurts your profitability in the end. Are you wasting energy by? So in addition to your bills going up, you could be having some strategies that waste energy, leaving the lights on when no one is in the space. So if you have an operation that's not controlling the lights, or you just use a manual switch to turn them off, then you're wasting energy.
Yeah, and Justin, I know that's one of the places we're going to talk about later on, but I was just in a facility last week, and there wasn't one person in there doing anything on the whole back half, and every one of the lights was on. So I think this is an opportunity to really take advantage here.
Absolutely. In addition to leaving them on when no one's in the space, are you not controlling the electric lighting to take advantage of daylight? So if you have skylights in your space right now and you don't have sensors that are controlling that electric light to dim it down when you have adequate daylight, that's another way that you're wasting energy. So when we look at maintenance, maintaining your traditional lighting system is costing you money. After 10,000 hours with HID, light levels have decreased 50%, requiring lamp changes. So if you're a 24/7 operation, just over a year, you may already be doing lamp and ballast maintenance. And then you have some of the hidden costs that we'll look at: contract labor, scissor lift rental, downtime, disruption to area. All of these things are what LED can alleviate.
Yeah, I think this is one of those areas where it really sneaks up on you. You put these brand new lamps in and they look great the hour one, and then slowly, day by day, you don't even notice it, and a year later, half of the light output is gone. So you're only getting half of what you asked. It's dark, it's dingy, it's just not proper lighting to be efficient. So I think that's a good point to make.
In addition to those light levels, you got a pretty interesting process that goes into it, right? Most warehouses are 30 to 35 foot mounting heights, sometimes even higher, so you got to get that scissor lift rental. You got to get your labor crew, get the new lamps and the ballast, close off the areas, then you got to dispose of everything. So there's a lot that goes into it, a lot of downtime, a lot of cost associated with doing all of this. In addition to the process, you got to have some dangers. Whatever your strategy, you got to pay for it. So we know a lot of times that you're 30 feet up in the air, you sometimes could cut some corners to get some stuff done quickly. So whether you're doing dual forklifts for some maintenance, or you decide just to jump on a pallet and go up there and change some lamps or ballast, there are some dangers associated with it.
Yeah, I know we're making a little fun here of some of these pictures, but my dad ran a facility as a kid. I used to go over there on the weekends, and my brother and I used to do all kinds of crazy stuff. Stuff like this happens. It's dangerous. There's a lot of issues that happen. People can really get injured. Plus, it's just not a good use of time and effort. We want to do things that are adding value to the company, not being things that makes it more dangerous and lowers the quality. So even though there's some kind of fun pictures here, I totally get what you're saying.
Especially on the value-added side. So when you have the production versus downtime, what do you want to pay for? Obviously, any good business wants to pay for value-added work. You want your employees doing things that add value to the business, that generate revenue. Sometimes production or downtime results in some shenanigans, right? You play some games out in the warehouse. My favorite is you could have some creative ways to play your favorite superhero. I always joke that Mick and I might try this in one of our facilities just to see who could go higher up on that beam.
I mean, you got to fill the time when there's nothing else to do, right? If the line's down, you're going to find ways to fill that time. Unfortunately for Justin and I, we don't have a lot of downtime, but one of these days when we do, we're going to give this a shot. Maybe we can get some volunteers to help us out. But again, a little bit of fun here just to make the point, but downtime really adds nothing to the bottom line and just leaves time for people to do other things which aren't profitable or add to the bottom line.
Absolutely. So when we look at insufficient lighting, as Mick mentioned, there's about 100,000 forklift accidents a year. We know a lot of those aren't associated with lighting, but certainly some of them are. We've got a lot of different facts here. 2% of picking errors occur because the employee can't see the barcode. You can have a 10 to 50% increase in productivity with adequate task lighting. So when you look at quality of light, that's sometimes one of those intangibles when you switch out your lighting system. And we'll look at some of the other things that go into it. As Mick mentioned, returns are a huge deal. Think of all that went into actually picking that product. And if it was picked incorrectly, you have to reverse that process. Now you have an unhappy customer. You got to add some people to it to get the product back on the shelf. So a lot of costs go into returns and to picking the incorrect product. Also, with insufficient lighting, you have slower production due to straining to see it. I don't know about you, but anytime I have a hard time seeing, I go a little bit slower. So if you're on your forklift or you're hand picking some of those locations and it's difficult to see that label or lot number, you might just go a little bit slower if you have insufficient lighting.
Well, and yeah, and even like that last infographic showed, I mean, it's shocking to me that it can slow down your efficiencies by 10 to even 50% because of low lighting. But having said that, some of the warehouses I've seen, the lighting's been so poor, I've seen people running around with headlamps on and flashlights to try and see the barcodes, and that just can't be an efficient way to run an operation.
Not only is it inefficient, you can start contributing to those safety hazards. Again, you might have those 100,000 forklift accidents a year. 3% of employer costs within kind of the warehousing sector are related to workers' compensation. So just think of the slips, trips, falls, forklift accidents, anything that could go into that. Do you really want your lighting system to be a reason that people were hurt, especially when there's an easy solution around that? And then lastly, low morale due to insufficient lighting, eye strain, eye discomfort, headaches. Since unemployment is lower, workers have some different options that they can go out and find a facility that meets all of their needs. So we know you have options when you want to invest, right? Lighting's probably not the first thing that pops to your mind. You may have your software systems, better automation, more trucks, more people. So why should you consider looking up? As we've seen, there's specific roadblocks that switching to LED can eliminate, but are the return numbers good enough to warrant a look at the solutions? Does it make sense to invest in a new system now? If I show you a 15-year payback to switch out your lighting, you're probably not going to want to stick around the rest of the webinar and look at the actual solutions. So is this the best use of your hard-earned money to invest back in your business? So we're going to look at two specific scenarios right now. We're going to look at an HID versus LED scenario, looking at 250 fixtures using a 400-watt HID system. If this is what you have or something similar, you could be spending about $83,000 a year in energy and maintenance just on your lighting system. So when you switch out just to LEDs, and that's all you're going to do, you could save about $57,000 a year, or greater than 70%, and have about a 1.4-year payback, which is phenomenal, just being able to get that type of payback and that type of savings. If you step up just a little bit and add the occupancy sensor again to start turning out the lights or dim the lights down or take advantage of daylight when no one's in the space, you could save about $64,000 a year, greater than 77% savings, and the same yearly payback of 1.4 years. When we look at probably the best solution, which would be that LED high bay with an occupancy sensor and some wireless controls that we'll look at in a little bit, you can get almost 90% savings from day one, looking at $72,000 a year or 1.6-year payback. Payback in a yearly basis goes up a little bit because you have the cost, but just think of all that flexibility and optimization that you're going to get in the long term. So that's against HID. Again, if you have that type of system, that looks like a no-brainer. One thing we've heard is, yeah, going against HID, LED makes perfect sense. But fluorescent is king. It's been probably king in the warehouse industry for a long time. The numbers don't make sense yet for switching out fluorescent to LED. Well, let's look at a similar scenario. Again, 250 fixtures, $64,000 a year you could be spending in energy and maintenance. So what is it when you switch over to the LED? Saving about $40,000 a year, an even 2-point-year payback, and greater than 61% savings. I guess I'm here to tell you now that right there is phenomenal. Those numbers come down pretty rapidly. So if you have that fluorescent system today, you definitely need to be taking a look at LED systems. When you add your occupancy sensor, greater than 70% savings, same 2-point-year payback, saving about $46,000 a year. And finally, looking at that optimized system with wireless controls and a sensor, 83% savings, same about 2.1-year payback.
You know, that looks awesome, Justin. I was afraid you were going to show us 15-year paybacks and everybody was going to drop off the phone, so I'm glad to see you didn't. The other thing I like about this is anybody that's on the line, and we'll have a little email address at the end where you can follow up, but all of these were done with the visual economic tool. So if you are looking at this and going, well, I don't have 250 fixtures, or I don't know what you guys used for electrical costs, which we use national average of about 10 cents a kilowatt hour. Mine's only 8 or 7 or 10 or 15 or whatever your number is. We can easily pop open those files, change it to the numbers you've got, and then show you exactly what it would be for your facility. So that's a nice overview. I think that really shows a lot on what the ROI is for these systems.
Absolutely. So what are the components that kind of make up this system? So first, we'll look at the LED high bay that we use in that comparison, which is the I-beam IBH. So it reduces energy consumption, like we saw, up to 60%, sometimes even up to 70%. Virtually eliminates maintenance. So LEDs have extremely long life as opposed to the almost yearly maintenance needed for traditional lighting systems. LEDs can last up to 10 years with little or no maintenance. The components are part of a proven system that Acuity stands behind, and we'll talk more about that in the next few slides. And then one that a lot of people don't necessarily understand, LEDs are not affected by frequent on-off switching. So it doesn't matter if you turn them on and off every 30 seconds of every day. Contrast this to the traditional technology. HID takes up to 15 minutes just to warm up. Everybody remembers the New Orleans Super Bowl. And then the fluorescent lamp life drastically drops the more you turn it on and off. Not so with LEDs. This means you can really increase those savings in areas where you don't need them to stay on 15 minutes when nobody's in the space, so you can really kind of start to hone in the system with LEDs. In addition to the IBH, we have a number of different solutions depending on your environment or goals. So higher ambient temperatures or other factors could dictate which solution would give you the optimal results. These are just two more solutions that Acuity has in the portfolio, from the IBL to the JHBL, and again, really determines on what type of feature benefits that you're looking for in your specific environment. So we're looking at the occupancy and photocell sensors. Increase those savings up to 70% in a lot of cases. And again, like we talked about, LEDs don't care about that frequent on-off switching, so you could save even more depending on the strategy that you choose in their life, because now you're turning the lights off more or dimming them down. Your life is going to increase, meaning even longer periods between maintenance. Provides light when and where needed. This ensures that your workers get the light they need and when it is needed to complete the job. And then multiple operations with one component. You can turn them on and off. You have customized dimming settings. You can dim it down to certain levels. You can take advantage of daylight. So there's a lot of things that your sensor enables you to do within part of that system. Lastly, to go really optimize your system, you could take advantage of the XPoint wireless system. Increases those savings up to 80% or even 90% in some cases, because now you can really tailor your lighting system to the needs of your operations, from large areas, specific aisles, and even individual fixtures. Again, increases the luminaire life because now you're turning them off and you're doing more optimization, and again, just longer periods between maintenance that you may have to do. This is part of that reliable, proven system for your operation. The wireless network has no single point of failure. That means that even if the signal is lost in one fixture, the entire system continues to operate. And you have flexible tools that evolve with you. The wireless system gives you the flexibility and ease that you need. You know, do you really want to run Cat5 cable 30 feet in the air to have a system? You know, wired solutions certainly have their place within a warehouse system or a warehouse application, so they're perfect in your office settings. But wireless is the way to go in the warehouse area. The wireless system ensures that your lighting evolves with you, and then if you ever have to move or add fixtures, it's pretty much done with ease, no changes, no problems. So I can walk you briefly through what that was showing. On the section with daylighting, it was showing you how using the sensor and wireless controls, obviously as the daylighting comes through the skylight, it adjusts your electric lighting. With the aisle-based or zone-level control, with the wireless system and sensor, you're basically able to have one sensor that controls an entire aisle. It can control an entire zone. So instead of having a sensor on every product, you're able to kind of configure that to take advantage of different strategies. And then in the back of the warehouse, where that fixture level control might be better, you're able to take advantage of that with either the sensor or the wireless controls to really optimize that space. The video is on our website. So if you go to acuitybrands.com/industrial, you'll see kind of in the middle section the warehouse solutions video. So I do apologize that there was no audio on that one. So with the wireless system, we'll look at the software that goes into you to manage your complete interior lighting system from a single interface. That means you can manage your office lighting, your warehouse lighting, your task lighting, all from one interface. There's very little competitors that can, or companies out there that you can have one interface to manage the entire interior space. You can monitor live system status from your desktop or even the mobile app that's available. You can program sensor and dimming settings to respond to different daylight options, dimming settings. You can have different strategies. So as the video showed, say one day you want your lights to dim down to 50% when no one's in the space, but something happens in your warehouse and you want to start turning them off. Very easy to go into the software and make that happen. And then the best part about this system is you can get actionable data and analytics. So you can view the historical system operations, you can monitor your energy usage, and then you can take action. So that's I guess the best part about this entire system is you can have that data at your fingertips and then take action to make sure that you're running your operation at its best. There's additional applications within your warehouse that we have solutions for. There's task and demanding applications. So you may have fluorescent strips up today or some of the enclosed and gasketed stuff for low ceiling heights, maybe your hand-picked locations out in the dock area or any canopies that you have. So these solutions right here that you can enable with that wireless system can really take your operation to the next level and help you manage all the different areas that you see. But don't forget about the other areas in your space. You might have 20 to 30% of your lighting that's dedicated to outdoor, from employee parking, truck yards, building security, that kind of stuff. So you've got a lot of outdoor lighting within a warehouse application that you need an LED solution for. 10 to 20% could be in office, from conference rooms, private offices, open area offices, atriums. Those types of solutions use a lot of energy as well. And then the kind of mandatory life safety lighting that you have from emergency exits, units, and combos. So does this seem like a lot? LEDs, sensors, wireless systems, it sure seems like we're talking more about technology and electronics rather than lighting. It can seem overly complicated, almost like building your own computer. I mean, you want a computer, but you don't want to have to build your own. You remember having to do this, Mick?
Yeah, I don't really want to date myself, but there's probably a few on the line that can relate to a couple of years back, maybe more than a couple. I can remember buying the chassis, buying the power supply, buying the motherboard, the processor, the RAM, the hard drive, all this stuff, got it all in. My buddies and I were putting it together, and of course the thing doesn't work. And of course we don't know why it doesn't work. We're troubleshooting this, we're troubleshooting that. We spent hours trying to figure out what was compatible with what. Ended up having to send parts back, get new parts in, build it up, and eventually got it running. And it was a pretty good computer. But it took about 6 months of my life that I never got back, and not the most enjoyable experience. Now I get on Dell.com and I have a computer 2 days later. That's the way it should be.
Absolutely. I mean, we all want simple, right? We all want technology to just work, turn it on and work with little effort. But you want that multifaceted system to be simple, right? Just think about all the times we complain that you turn on your phone and it doesn't do exactly what you want it to do exactly when you want it to do it. And that's just how our technology, we want it to be today. And in a lot of cases, our lighting systems, we want the same type of operation there as well. I guess I'm here to say Acuity has the answer, right? We get it. You want your lighting and controls and sensors to all work together seamlessly, just like as Mick was talking about building your computer. You don't want to have to go to multiple manufacturers and piecemeal a lighting system together that may or may not work on a given day. That's why we created A+ certified solutions. We've listened to thousands of customers who want their lighting system to work together and deliver the expected outcome. A+ certified solution. This means you can go to one manufacturer, Acuity Brands, for all the parts and know that everything has been tested, factory calibrated, and verified. So we are the only manufacturer offering such a comprehensive program that spans across multiple product types and applications through a proven system. As you have your sensor view software that we talked about, you can have all of these solutions as part of this A+ certified program. Your high bay, your task light, your DMW, your office lighting, all networked together and all on one system that has been tested and calibrated by the factory.
Yeah, and I would even take this just one step forward. I mean, Acuity has been around for more than 100 years, or some of our companies have been. And, you know, we lived through the HID fluorescent world as well, when the lamp wouldn't work, or the ballast wouldn't work, or the fixture wouldn't work, and nobody knew if it was the ballast was broke or was miswired or whatever. When you look at our high bays, not only do we make the high bays that work with the control systems and the sensors and those types of things, but even within the high bay itself, you know, we own a driver company, we own the sensor company, we make our own boards. All of it is built by Acuity and all tested to make sure it functions together. So I think there's a lot of advantages here, and I think the customer would get a lot of benefit out of it.
So what do you think, Mick?
Well, I'm telling you what I think the customers on the other end think. I think they think this is a lot of fluff. Now I'm gonna speak for them here for a second, but okay, I get the ROI. I can go do the calculation. You've told me that there's a calculator. I can go in and put my own inputs in. It'll calculate it for me, and they'll see if it works for me. I'll see if I've got the 1.4-year payback, the 1-year payback, or the 2-year payback. So that part of it I get. But you're also telling me you're going to make my employees happier. You're going to make them so they produce better quality of products, better quality of safety, more productive, better maintenance. Okay, maybe not that type of maintenance, more like that type of maintenance. But you're going to do all of this by just giving me new light. Well, what that sounds to me like is somewhat of a pipe dream, and I'm not sure that's really possible. So can you give me a real life example? I mean, all of us live in the real world. What about a real world application?
Absolutely. So we have a few that we can look at real quick. We have the first one is the Gateway Commerce Center. So their challenge, they wanted to build a LEED Gold facility that needed to have a campus-wide lighting solution that would benefit multiple tenants over time. So what they went with was a fully integrated LED solution, including controls throughout the entire facility. So they went with an LED high bay in the warehouse area. They had LED office lights in the office area with some LED downlights in the atrium. And then they had multiple LED outdoor lights on the outdoor side of the facility. So what were the results of that? They were seen as a pioneer in the Nevada area in regards to an integrated building-wide LED solution. Some other work that we've done is with Preferred Freezer. So we've done multiple operations with them to see if what they've done, and we had some additional videos to show you. However, it doesn't look like the audio is working very well. So those are also on our website, acuitybrands.com/industrial. If you scroll down to the bottom, we actually have all 4 of the videos that Preferred Freezer can walk through. Briefly, what we were going to talk about was the decisions that they made from an ROI and a quality of light standpoint. So one of the big things for Preferred Freezer was on the ROI side, having so many locations. What they decided to do, they identified about 3 or 4 areas where they could basically force rank the locations that they wanted to do. So they looked at kilowatt, what rebates were available, what was the LED solution that they wanted to go after. And so they basically ranked every one and then started from number 1 and worked their way down to, you know, a couple dozen now is how many they've done. And they went with the entire campus-wide as well. So they had the LED high bay in the warehouse cold storage area. They went with the LED office lighting and LED outdoor as well. And a lot of times they had a year payback or less. That's one thing that Brian, the president of Preferred Freezer, highlights in the video. And there's certainly some good videos that you can look at out there.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's too bad we can't show you the videos, but like Justin said, if you just go to the website, you can see all 4 of them, and we weren't going to have time to show you all 4 today anyway. the ROI being less than a year for them in most of their applications is pretty phenomenal. I'm not going to say it's like that for everyone, but it shows the strength of what the LED solution can be. The maintenance as well, it's pretty obvious to them how much brighter their facility was, and of course the maintenance pretty much goes away. But the one I would encourage you guys to look at the most is the one on the quality of light, because it's pretty difficult to talk or to quantify, happier employees, or the speed at which they can pick things, the accuracy at which they can pick, how fast they can get around safely, on forklifts and things like that. So I'd highly encourage you to go take a look at that video and listen to Preferred Freezer. And that, it's everybody from the guy working on the dock to the facility manager to the owner that's talking about that. So I think you'll get a lot out of that. And it'll also give you an opportunity to look at all 4 of the videos instead of just the one.
So with that, we'll let you go look at those on our website. Mick, why don't you walk us through what we talked about?
So we talked about the New Year's resolutions and what you guys could possibly do. I mean, the statistics speak for themselves. 8% of people accomplish them. 36% have already stopped. But if you really want to improve the chances of you guys being more profitable, reduce your maintenance, improve your quality, I ask you that you take immediate action and go do something about it. Take a look at what the LEDs can do for you in all of these different areas, and it might give you opportunity to explore other things, increase your quality, reduce your maintenance, and then of course make yourself more profitable and more competitive against the rest of the people out there. We talked about some of the roadblocks. The increasing energy bills aren't going to stop. The lamp and ballast maintenance is not only going to stop, but it's going to get more expensive because many of the manufacturers have stopped producing those. And then insufficient lighting, we talked about that, holding back on your quality of both your product and your people. And finally, if you need a solution that can go from the drivers to the LED boards to the sensors to the control systems and work, whether it's in the front of the office, the back of the office, on the docks, indoor, outdoor, you name it, we've got a solution that's all tied together and all certified to work together by Acuity. So with that, your task to qualify for the giveaway is send an email to industrialsolutions@acuitybrands.com, and we'll enter you in the giveaway. Your facility audited, or if you would just like to have the financial ROI ran, just send us an email. We'd be glad to help you out in any way we can. And then again, if you want to go take a look at those videos, which I'd highly encourage looking at the quality of light one, just go to acuitybrands.com/industrial. So with that, I think we'll turn it back over if there was any questions, and we'll go from there.
All right, thanks guys. And I got to tell you, the videos are really awesome. There is no way to describe without you seeing it. The folks just like you, your peers, going through this seemingly simple lighting upgrade and then the overall impact it had on their facility. There's a handful of questions, guys. First of all, how do I know how much light I have, how much light I need, and then actually when it's bright enough?
So the best way to find out how much light you have now is, that's one of the good things about having the lighting audit done. So we can come in and do a customized lighting audit that will take foot candle readings to see, how many foot candles you have in the aisles and in the open area. And then the IES has specific recommendations for warehouse lighting, depending on, what type of operation it is. There's specific recommendations for horizontal foot candles and vertical foot candles in the aisles and the open areas. So that's, again, part of that lighting audit to determine how much light you have now, how much light is recommended that you have, and then, taking a survey just based on your specific operation Some people want way more light than the IES recommends. That's just like how the operation, and so we could certainly match your operation with the correct lighting system.
Sounds good. Light and bright does equal clean and safe. Here's a related question. It really it stemmed from the question about how lighting impact workers, productivity, etc. So what characteristics in a lighting upgrade product really pertain to that quality of illumination? So not just the light level, but the quality of illumination.
Well, so that's a good question. I mean, we always say you want the right light at the right time. And so whether it's vertical illumination up and down your racks, which is incredibly important, you don't want all the light getting put down on the floor because you're not actually doing any activities on the floor. You want it up against the pallets or whatever stacked there. Same thing when you're doing task lighting. You want the task lighting, at table level or where the picking's taking place. So we have multiple different luminaires, no matter where you're working at, that can take care of that. If you're trying to do it vertically, if you're trying to do it on a workspace, if you're trying to do it on a loading dock, we want to make sure you have the right light at the right level at the right time. And we have different optics that can do that, different lenses and things like that that make sure you get what you need where you need it.
It's a really good point. In one of our warehouses that we upgraded with your lights, we noticed that the original guys were in forklifts and pickers, and they carried flashlights to be able to see inside of that box. And once the new fixtures were installed, there was enough in the way of horizontal and vertical foot candles where it didn't need flashlights anymore. Nice savings and really helps with productivity. So George is a real numbers guy. 60 to 80% sounds good, but our owner just does not believe that we will get that equal reduction in expense. How do I convince him?
In expense, is that from? Did they mean maintenance on that, or can you tell?
I think he means electricity. So if we started with our charts and we're going to save 60% here or 80% if we go to the one with controls. How do we know that that's really going to turn into an electric savings?
That's a good question. So, doing that initial audit to determine, if you have a traditional lighting system, let's take that 400 watt, and you're using 458 watts per fixture, tailor that to the LED that could be used in 142. So it's easy to do those savings. When you start layering in the different control strategies, one thing we do have is part of our sensor package is a data logger. So we can basically give you a sensor that's going to tally all the data that tells you, hey, in this specific environment, if your lights only need to be on 42% of the time, so then you can really go in there and tailor the system to ensure that you're turning it off as much as possible, and it really can show you the savings that you can have in addition to the energy. So you saved about 316 watts just going to LED. Those data loggers and the wireless system can show you just how much more you can save by giving you that actionable data.
And we can do that with the data loggers even before we install the lights, so you'll know what percentage of savings you're going to have above the energy savings that Justin talked about. But also, if you go to the XPoint wireless control system, there's a green screen on there which you can actively monitor what the power is and what your savings is, every minute of every day if you want to.
Okay, good. There's two follow-up questions as long as we're on the sensor topic. One is having to do with sensors. Hey, I work in an office and I'm always waving my arms to keep the lights on. It really scares me to think of a forklift driving down an aisle and having that happen. How good are the sensors? How do I know that?
The sensors are, tested at Acuity, and so we've tested multiple mounting heights to ensure that they work. One of the things that the wireless system enables you to do is, let's take the forklift example. You're able to customize to determine, which sensor you may want to trip the aisle. So it really helps you out if, say, your forklift's going a little too fast for the sensor. You're able to kind of say, hey, I want that second sensor to pick it up and hit the aisleway. So the wireless system gives you that flexibility to be able to pick up if your forklift drivers are going a little faster than normal.
Yeah, and I'd also suggest if they're waving their hands in the office, they give us a call as well, because they might have the wrong sensors in there. We have dual technology sensors that can both pick up physical motion as well as sound. So they can pick up the fact that you're typing on a keyboard or you're moving around in your chair. And also we have different sensors that pick up fine, like motor skill movements versus large. You don't want, a leaf blowing across the floor to turn on your sensors out in the warehouse, but at the same time, if all that's moving at your desk is your fingers, you want that sensor to be able to pick that up and make sure that it's working. So I've got a sensor in my office. I never wave my hand, so they might want to give us a call about that as well.
Perfect. Sensor technology really has come a long way. So the second is really very specific. Does your wireless control program also control parking lot lights?
So actually, I'll let Justin answer that in a second, but I want to jump back in because I've thought of another thing about the sensors. The good thing about Acuity and our sensors and all of our lighting is we make both. So we know our sensors work with our lighting system. We know what sensors work best in an office facility versus a warehouse facility versus any other facility. And we have the appropriate sensor matched with those. We own the own sensor company. We have experts in that area. They can certainly recommend different changes to it as well. Do you want to take the?
Yes. So on the outdoor side, yes, we do have a wireless system that can control the outdoor lighting as well, from your employee parking areas to the floodlights to the wall packs. There is the wireless system has those capabilities as well.
Okay. Thank you. So looks like we've got 2 more questions. So if anyone else has questions, please type them in. And the last 2 questions, first of all, this one has to do with hours. We talked about a fixture lasts 100,000 hours. What happens when an LED goes out?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Actually, LEDs really don't go out. Occasionally, maybe a driver will burn out or something like that, but typically LEDs don't burn out like a traditional light source. When we say an LED will last for 100,000 hours, it's usually based on something called an L70 or an L90, and what that means is after 100,000 hours, an L70, there would still be 70% light output. So as we talked about earlier with a traditional HID, when you plug them in 10,000 hours, they're down to 50%. Well, after 100,000 hours, many of our fixtures are still at 90%. So we have an L90 of 100,000 hours, and so they just slowly dim over time. So for the most part, LEDs don't burn out. Certainly, it's usually not the LED itself that burns out. It might be a driver or something like that, but LEDs don't work that way.
Okay, and the best question of the day goes to Russell, who asks, as I'm looking across the proposals, there's a number of brands that I don't recognize, never heard of. How do I evaluate to get rid of the junk as opposed to keeping the real quality products?
That's actually one of the things we fight day in and day out, because it's very difficult. Somebody will come in and say, hey, we have a 1,000-watt replacement. It only uses 100 watts or something like this. And then we look at it and we're like, yes, but you're only putting out the lumen output of really a 250-watt HID replacement. This isn't going to be close to the lumen levels that you need to. In fact, we've had people call us and say, hey, I can't get these guys to come back and talk to me, but it doesn't seem like we're getting the lumen output that we need. And then we'll go in and take a look at it, and they've put in, some LED tube that we've never heard of, and burns up and just doesn't do what it's supposed to. So I'm not going to say don't look at, everybody out there, but if I were you, I'd highly recommend taking a look at quality companies to compare with. Look at their life ratings, look at their temperature ratings, look at their light output, look at their UL certifications and things like that to make sure you're getting a quality product, and at least put them up and compare against each other. Another good thing to do is if you're concerned, just put up a sample of each and see how it looks, see what theirs looks like, see what ours looks like, and then make a decision for yourself.
That's a good point. This is really a 20-year decision that a person is making, and yeah, it's a simple lighting upgrade, and it's got big positives in terms of expense and safety and all that, but hey, it is going to be a very long-term decision, so you got to make the right decision. So as Graybar and Acuity Brands, we're here to help you do that. So guys, Mick and Justin, again, really appreciate the presentation. You're really giving us a lot to think about. For all the folks out there, we will send the email shortly with the links as promised. And Ann, housekeeping follow-ups, please.
Thanks, Dave. And thank you, Mick and Justin, for your presentation, and again to Graybar for sponsoring this event. And thanks to our audience for your attendance and your interest during the webinar. A recording of this presentation will be available online